Okay. Welcome. Welcome to week 2. We've made it this far together. So Denise and I wanted to just do a touch base, face-to-face, and go over a few things. We've seen some questions and some inquiries, and then talk a little bit about some of the posts that we've seen over the weeks. I just wanted to say that I have been reading particularly part 1, several of the posts that you've been making, and I can see lots of people making the connections between the themes and the different videos, the different readings that we've had, and I'm really starting to think about how those themes are being pulled through the leadership framework and those domains. And I know with the just finishing your EQI inventories, which we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes, but just finishing that up, you'll start to see where your strengths, align with different parts of the domain and where they fall in line with some of the theories we've been talking about. So really fun reading your post and great to get to know all of you. And I'm going to turn over to Denise. She's going to talk a little bit about the Ontario Leadership Framework.
Okay, good morning. Welcome. We've had a few questions about, pardon the photocopy, but we use it online all the time, the Ontario Leadership Framework. So it is available online. We've posted it in the course. And there was a little bit of confusion around the term core competencies versus core capacities and domains. So what we have just wanted to highlight for you is on page 8, there are the 5 core leadership capacities: setting goals, aligning resources and priorities,
and engaging in courageous conversations.
So what we'd like you to be thinking about as you do the work that you're engaged in is thinking about how those different competencies, capacities align with your EQI strengths and the areas that you're going to be working on. And if you look on page 12 and 13 and 14 and 15, we have the school level leadership, and the headings are all across the top, like the capacities. So
those are the domains too. When we talk the word domains, those are the ones we're talking about: setting directions, building relationships and developing people, developing the organization to support desired practices, improving the instructional program, and securing accountability.
And then if you flip to the next page, on page 14 and 15, we have a similar setup for the Catholic school level leadership. And then they have it as well for the board level as well. And with the Catholic piece, you'll have the Catholic school leaders well. They have similar areas about school leaders, short-term goals, high expectations, communicating vision and goals. But basically, it's everything around leadership, but from a Catholic stance. So we just want to make that known so that you knew what you were looking at. And also thinking about how those really connect in with your role. And for those of you who are working in a provincial system, you will most likely be doing your principal self-evaluation in the fall, and that's something that we use as practicing principles as we are doing our growth plan for the year.
And as you look at the resources that will continue to come up in the modules, our different videos and PowerPoint presentations and those pieces, kind of always be thinking about those domains as the sort of the backdrop, the framework, as you consider your comments or as you consider where they might apply and how they might actually help you develop practices within each of those domains.
Okay. The next piece I want to talk about was the PQP practicum proposal that's required to finish part 1. So we have the documents in the handbook that you have. We also have the documents up on the site in a separate area.
It's in the course content area. Then you go to course introduction, and there'll be 2 documents posted there. One's the information package, and the other is a Word copy of these forms.
So what you need to fill out for our purposes for part 1 is the first and second page. That's all you have to fill out. Really what we want you to be thinking about is who your practicum advisor is going to be. So for us, we're the part 1 instructors, so we would be that person. At the bottom of the page, they have a practicum mentor and in-school principal. It does not have to be the principal in your school, although it can be and often is. But there are many schools where it's not. That's not the case. What it does have to be, though, is a qualified Ontario principal in order to be that practicum mentor. If you're running into trouble where you aren't able to make connections within your school board, or if you're in a small, like one school board, and you need some help connecting to a mentor, let us know your panel, your area of interest, and we'll do our best to find one through our networks of people that we work with. But basically it's a title, a topic, and a brief description of your practicum proposal, the rationale, and then what are the anticipated benefits and your SMART goals for the project. So you just sign off, your practicum mentor signs off, we sign off, and send it to us by email. Now the one thing I do want to mention to you is several people, year after year, do their proposal, things change in the fall, maybe the job placement change, or maybe the school board focus changes, so they change their practicum. That's okay. Resubmit the updated one to us, and we'll sign off on it, and you can keep going. The other little piece that is in here, which is optional, is an observation piece. I don't think we've had anyone do the observation yet. But if you are going to choose that as an up to 20-hour optional piece, we do need to have those dates, and we need to sign off on that before June. So that's something. But really, most people just do their practicum, and you can get all your work done and your hours for your practicum done in that time. The one thing that we wanted to just highlight is when you take part 2, you should have your practicum work completed or be almost complete. So likely you wouldn't be taking part 2 in September. You may be taking it in January or next spring this time. Because you do have to be prepared for part 2 to actually present your practicum to your classmates.
So, and then there was a question, the 60 hours that you're required to do is the 60 hours you'll actually be doing your practicum. So there's a minimum of 60 hours work that you should complete. So when you choose your project, so to speak, or your practicum, you want to be sure it's something that that's going to give you some challenge, that you're going to be able to do 60 hours worth of research work, or whether it's working in a school or putting together, some things people have done are like putting together school handbooks. Those are some of the PLCs
leading school teams,
creating a school focus, those kinds of things. So be sure that your project is something that's in depth, that you can do, that you want to do, that you have interest in, and that you can expend that 60 hours in. You can certainly do more than 60 hours, but the minimum is the 60 hours. So that's not required during this time up to June. This is for your practicum, that 60 hours.
And in most cases, that would probably start in September.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Yes.
Okay. Be sure that you check the news section daily. Or there's actually an icon up in the corner of your screen that has news, and it'll flash red when there's new news. But if you check it daily, that's where we're putting, when we see a repeated question come up or we see an issue arise, that's where we put that information, is in the news, so that it's right away. You can see it. Everybody gets the same message, and we wanted to just be sure that you were aware of that space. The EQI reports. We know that many of you have taken, we get an email whenever you've completed your inventory. We are currently awaiting a response from the company on how exactly you pay for it and get your leadership report. So you will be ordering from them your leadership report, is what it's called. And that's, I think, at the point you pay, but I'll find out. We are waiting on a response for them. So as soon as we get that, we will post it in the news section.
Okay. And for those of you, Kristen and I thought we'd kind of give you an update, because at various points we're moving around the province of Ontario for work. So this Wednesday on May the 11th, I'll be in Sudbury at the First Nations Métis Inuit Collaborative Inquiry. So if anybody out there is involved in that work and going to be in Sudbury, I will be getting in Tuesday around supper time and leaving Wednesday evening. So give me a quick email if you're around, or if you want to get together, I'm around. Okay.
And I'm generally in Thunder Bay here at Ogden Community Schools. So if you are in Thunder Bay for any reason, please feel free, if you've got time, to come by my school and visit me. It'd be great to meet people as they're coming through. And it would be nice to see some faces and get to connect personally.
Mm-hmm. And Friday I'll be in Geraldton. So I have a lunch break in there. So if anybody's in that Geraldton Long Walk area, I'll be up that way. Okay, so I guess on a final note, we're going to be leaving you with 2 thoughts. One is, if you're not already active on Twitter, I know many of you are, but if you're not, please look into how you can get yourself set up with Twitter. And then Christy and I have a couple slides at the end of this so that you can see our 2 Twitter accounts, plus the Lakehead University one for continuing education. And we ask that you follow us, and then, because when we move into the next module 3, we're going to be doing some of our work through Twitter with one of our presenters. So he won't be facilitating on the actual D2L site. He'll be facilitating through Twitter for that week. And then I guess on a final note, it's spring. It is that time of renewal, and it's also that time where I find people have so much energy that they want to do everything. But a lot of you have talked about balance and finding balance with your personal life, your professional life, and your school life, your learning life. So we just really want to encourage you to take that time you need, manage that, because we don't want anyone hitting burnout or having stress or anxiety due to the workload, which is a big workload for this course. But just sort of chop it out a little bit every day. Respond to always a minimum of 2 posts per module of other people's work and put up your own posting. So please don't feel the need to read like there's 42 students in the course. That's a lot of reading. We read everybody's, but please don't feel the need to read everybody's unless, you feel the need to do that.
And on that note, we do read everybody's. We don't always post in everybody's discussion. It's certainly what we're working towards is that everybody, we are at some point conversing with everybody in the course, but we won't be, don't be waiting for us to be responding to every single post, because we just want to be sure that we know, kind of get a flavor for where everybody is. So we will be responding, but at different places and at different times, and certainly things that interest us and things that we notice in your learning. So,
okay, so on that note, have a good week, and we'll touch base with you next week. Take care.